What is up, everybody? This is Lyle, No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. If you happen to be catching this on the replay, I'm going to wait for a few people to come up in here. What is up, everybody? Those of you guys that are in, I'm just going to wait just a second for some people to come in here. I got a little fucked today. You know how you go to a shipper, receiver, whatever, and they say, you know what, they got overnight parking, and then you get there, they don't. Luckily, they had some of these off-brand Circle K's around here, and luckily I got here when I did, because now this 5-spot Circle K is filled up. I was hoping to sleep at the O2, my second receiver, or my first of two, but it was packed, so now I gotta get up and drive in. Barry, what's up, man? Gene, what's up? I'm just out here hanging out. Got to deliver at 4:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And then I got another. Who sets these fucking appointments? And what reality are these guys in? So I deliver at 4 o'clock in the morning. I got another delivery after that that's set at 8 o'clock. It's like an hour and a half away. So, I mean, I guess if I'm lucky, they get it unloaded, but, you know, whatever. So anyway. Been watching a lot of videos out there. It's like this us against them mentality these days. You know, you got all these gangs out there in trucking. 67, yeah. Boy, Arkansas, you do not want to be on the wrong road in Arkansas. So anyway, we got all these gangs out there. You got the owner-operator gang and the lease operator gang. And then you got the company gang. And everybody's out here, you know, saying they're right or everybody else is wrong. Listen, there's a number of different ways to make this shit happen. There's really no right way or wrong way. Unless you've worked at a bunch of different places and you're out trying to give advice about where to go work at. I mean, then you might be wrong. But I'm just saying this because I'm getting the feeling, and my man Romaine, the trucker, if you happen to be watching this, listen, there's a bunch of different ways to make this shit work. And his uncle lost it, yeah. So my man Romaine's been out on like all these different podcasts out here debating company versus lease more than fucking Charlie Kirk's been out on the debate circus. And you know, people are very sensitive about their views. And like my man, or like my group Wu-Tang Clan, their first album was, or their first single was Protect Your Neck, Romaine. Don't go out there pissing people off. I mean, I know where your heart's at and everything, but you know what I'm saying. So anyway, those of you new people that are coming in here, you got to figure out what makes sense to you. It's not about the money. It's not about, you know, it's not one thing. You know, there's a lot of people that make company drive and work for them. And they make the money they want to make and do all that. There's people that are leasing. That leasing satisfies what they want as far as time off or money or whatever those things are. Owner-operators, the same thing. But when you get people out here saying one is better than the other, or I'm doing this and you're doing that, listen. There's no way that being an owner-operator would work for me. I mean, my truck's paid off, but I don't consider myself an owner-operator. And there's no way the company would work for me. Not even close. And there's some people, there's owner-operators that are saying the same thing. No way I could be a lease operator. No way I could be a company driver. And company driver, same thing. No way I could be a lease operator. No way I can be a company driver. You know, there's a million different ways to be successful in this business. Now, what I'm going to caution you of, because I've seen a lot of false prophets and fake coaches out there giving bad advice. If you're going to get into this business, and I'm not talking to people that have been in this business, if you're going to get in this business, because I got a lot of newer people that watch this every now and then, listen to people that are where you want to be. Don't listen to somebody that's been in the business 20 years and worked at 45 different places, or somebody that's like worried about where their next paycheck came from. They've been in the business since 1994. Those aren't the people to listen to. Okay? The people to listen to, whether it's company, lease, or owner-operator, are the people that are actually out here getting it done. So if I'm a company driver, I might be looking at trucking along with, these are just names that come to the top of my head, trucking along with Kiersey, or Romaine the Trucker, or, you know, people that aren't on YouTube. There's somebody I know at Prime, Debbie Nixon. She's a company driver. You know, lease drivers, I could think of a ton of them at Prime that are successful. You pick one or whatever. Owner operators, you know, depending on what you want to call them, you know, Cash is King or whoever. These are people to listen to, not the people that are out here complaining all the time about what company's bad and, you know, they ain't got enough money to get, you know, those aren't the people to listen to. Listen to people that have at least had mild success throughout the years. All right. Let's see. Hey, at what age did you realize that you were gay? I don't know. I'd probably say I had to be around 12 years old, and then I got with your mama, and she made me straight. Give it 10 years, and 90% of truckers will be obsolete. Hey, 10 years, I won't have to be worried about it. So, whatever happens in 10 years. Alright, so anyway, best thing is to do a lease purchase, then run with the paid off truck. I've tried to do the math with people I know, and some people are just, I'm not saying that my way is the right way. I just figure that if you put, like, okay, let's do the math real quick. So I know somebody that's been leasing for 3 years at Prime. So that means their $14,000 payment on a brand new lease purchase would be $11,000. So they put $11,000 down. Their payment, man, I need to get a calculator. Their payment is going to be on the same truck about $100 less a month. So over the course of 36 months, they will save $400. You do the math. $400 a month times 36 months. Plus, they don't get. Man, I need to get my calculator out, but I'm too lazy to go back here and get it. So, $100 a month you save, 36 months, or $100 a week, excuse me, so basically, the money you put down is the money you're going to save over the course of the lease. Then when you're done with the lease, you don't get the payout, but you get the truck. If you just kept the truck for 2 months, you made back all the money that you would have got back on your lease completion bonus. Plus, you run it paid off for however many, let's say 36 months, and you're making an extra 100, 12, whatever the payments are. Let's just say $1,200 a week. So let's say, to me, I agree with the paid off truck. Unless you're teaming or training. That's a different level of math right there. But I just don't see the math in continually leasing a brand new truck. But that doesn't mean I'm right. That doesn't mean it doesn't work for somebody else. Whatever. So, there's a bunch of different math equations I can come up with when company drivers are talking about, well, it's better being a company driver. I could run the math on that and debunk that myth. And there's company drivers that could do the math on theirs and debunk the myth as far as lease drivers or, whatever. So there's a bunch of different ways to be successful out here. The thing is, everybody wants to be right. And there's a bunch of different ways to be right. Now, to me, running a paid-off truck, even if with a paid-off truck, whether you're, in my eyes, whether it's a lease, if I'm looking at somebody that's leasing or owner-operator, even if they made a ton of money more than I did, well, a lease driver won't, just because the math is the math. But even if you were a company driver saying, well, I don't have expenses, and, man, those 36 months when you ain't got no payment, I don't even know if you could recover from that. But that's just my math. That doesn't mean my math is right. There's headaches that come along with this shit. But the only reason I did this lease purchase instead of going company, because my initial idea was to go company. And then they started talking about the time off. So it didn't even matter if lease made more than company or whatever. That time off, because 4 days off, that's not even enough for me. That's not even long enough for me to take a good shit. It takes 7 days for me to kind of recover. And then after 7 days to a week for me to really kind of get into my rhythm, it's taking me more than 11 to 14. Or no, not 11, 14 to 21 days just to get in my rhythm. So, even if you were saying, you could take 7 days, 7 days ain't enough. Which YouTuber left Prime for R.E. Garrison? I don't know, but Trucker Todd, I guess, just went to Garrison. We'll see how that works out. Because one thing I could say about life is it's pretty repetitive, right? So if you have all these, like I said, fake gurus and bad coaches out there talking shit or talking about all this stuff and trying to give advice to people, that look at the track record before you start taking advice from anybody. Now, one thing, people can say whatever they want about me or some of these other people at Prime. Let's just talk about me. They could say I'm a dickhead or, they just don't like me or whatever it is. But one thing you can't say is that I haven't put my money where my mouth is and that I'm not successful to some degree. Where a lot of these people that are out here trying to act like they're, people that should be giving advice, they've just failed over and over and over again. I mean, they say those that can't teach, and those that can't teach coach trucking, I guess. I don't know. So, beware who you listen to. And how are you really? How that'd be like me going and getting massacred somewhere and then trying to get referrals to the place I just got massacred at. It just doesn't make sense. Slowpoke, I listen to the guy that gives me free gloves. Man, these are the free gloves I gave Slowpoke back when he was brand new in trucking, I don't know, 3-4 years ago. And I gave these to my trainer that I trained last. And these are smaller than the ones I had, so I might be throwing these out. I got some spares back here. Company side on Prime is another downward slide. And listen, from the sounds of it, being a company driver at Prime may not be it. My man Romaine left Prime and went company at Hellwig, and now he's got more miles than he knows what to do with. Now, he might be out there not making enough money to where he's stealing towels from TA, talking about he bought them at Walmart, but he still seems to be doing good. But yeah, I hear I really do think, hey Jay, I think a lot of people probably should start off as company drivers, though, whether it be at Prime or wherever. But I did hear about that bonus being changed. All right, JJR, what's the downside of a paid off truck within 3 years? Of course, you need to have some kind of business sense. But I mean, damn, you don't need no business sense in trucking. I mean, really, seriously, there is no business needed in trucking, at least at this level. Now, if you get past me and you're an owner operator and you're doing all this other shit, maybe. But at Prime, you don't need any business sense to do any of this shit. What you need is a little bit of cash to back you up when things get hard. But I mean, the downside to having a lease purchase at Prime is there's no downtime pay, or no breakdown pay. I tell you what really pisses me off. I was actually talking about this earlier today. Man, when you pay off a lease at Prime, and I'm talking about you get the title, all that, it's not the same. If you finish a regular lease at Prime, you get the 59 days off, and you get to go get the lease completion bonus and go in there and eat and drink all the shit you want at the dinner. We don't get shit. They're like, here's your title, beat it. I wish I could go eat and drink all this shit up at the terminal or at the Fire and Ice. We don't get that. Some people don't want to pay the $14K down, so they'd rather keep paying off Prime trucks and turning them in to be sold for $80K to $100K. And most of the time, these people, let's say that they've leased for 3 years. So instead of putting down $14K, they're putting down $11. Now, some people may not have the money. I can understand that. But I can't make the math make sense to do a regular lease instead of a lease purchase. The math doesn't. Now, it's not saying my math is right. It probably works in some people, to some people's benefit. I can't make it work. Because when I'm like now, even if you lost money, even if you well, you can't say that. Because leasing is the same thing as a lease purchase. So I'm going to sum it up very quick. The difference between, in my numbers, a lease to a lease purchase is you put down the money on the lease. So on this truck, I put down $11,000. The payment is about $100 less a month, and it's paid off in 36 months. Now, I didn't have a major breakdown in this truck, so the breakdown pay wouldn't have mattered. And once the truck's paid off, you actually do get money back, because there's money they set aside. So instead of getting like the 12, 15, 17,000 on a lease, regular lease, I got back like 3,500 or $4 or something like that. But now you're running at like $190. It's like $190. So really, once I pay for fuel and $190, everything above that is profit. So to me, that works out very well. So but that's not saying that the regular lease or company's not a good way to go. Because if I was married and I had kids, even though Prime's insurance, listen, Prime's insurance is higher than it should be. That's not even a debate. For as many employees as Prime has, their healthcare insurance is like way more than it should be. I mean, I worked at a smaller company, and our insurance, from what I've heard company drivers say, is at least half of what Prime insurance is. But let's just say you had a family, and I don't exactly know what that is, and you needed insurance, and you do get benefits from 401k, all that. That makes sense. I mean, I don't know those numbers, but that's a reason to go company. But running a paid off truck is very stress-free, let me tell you. All right, JJR, my old trainer is leased with Prime for years, multiple trucks. He finally decided to purchase. I guess the lease worked until it didn't. Just telling you. And really, it's the same 3 years. You know what I mean? So it's the same 3 years you would have been paying on another one. So between the... I want to get my calculator. Hold on a second. Because this is... We're going to do some math. All right, so let's do some math. So if my payment on a regular lease, or if I'm saving $100 a week, or not, $100 a week times 4 weeks, so that's $400 a month. So $400 a month times 36 months. So there's your APU payment. There's your down payment right there, which basically, the easiest way to look at it is if you're looking at Success Leasing's website and you see the payments and all this kind of stuff, the lease is going to be about $100 less than what that total payment is, because generally the amount of money that you put down is offsetting the APU rental on the truck. So you save so basically the $100 less a month you're paying equals whatever you would have put down on the truck. And then after that, I mean, it's just like crazy. Like, so at this point, once the truck is paid off, now there's a debate. There could be a debate if you're a company driver and you say, I'm doing better than lease people, and lease people have to pay for taxes and this, and that. There's no debate that once that truck is paid off, you're like you're at least doubling up on whatever any company driver is making at that point. Even if the truck was to break down, like you're still like there's not a debate at that point. Now you could debate like reasons to do it, but from a money standpoint, it's not even a question. 412, I am supposed to be asleep. I just called my wife and said, man, I can't go to sleep. I was supposed to go to this damn receiver. They said they had overnight park, and I go there, and he's like, well, I don't know if we have any parking spots, but, you know, if you drive in and you see these spots here, then you can park there, but if not, you're going to have to leave. So I'm at some off-brand Circle K out here in the middle of fucking nowhere. I mean, I guess I'm not in the middle of nowhere. This place has more stoplights than where I live, and I live in civilization. $4112 never works. Man, he's been going through it though. $412, Trucker Todd can't tell anybody shit about different companies. Okay, what you might be saying is Trucker Todd can tell everybody about different companies' orientations. Now, I don't know about this because you hear a lot of shit through the grapevine. And I don't even have anything against Trucker Todd other than him trying to clown me back in the day when I left a comment on this thing and I said, I'm at Prime and I'm doing all right. And then he tried to, like, make me feel like I was a little kid or something. So that's my only complaint about him. But he went to R.E. Garrison. And then somebody told me that R.E. Garrison is going to be pulling Prime freight, or Prime might be buying them or something like that. I don't know how much weight to be putting on that, but that would be hilarious. All right, Ben, what's up? That's the only time you answer the phone when I ask you if you're physically alive, yeah. Slime Pack, that's how I view it. Doesn't matter if you're company or lease. Technically, as long as you're driving the truck, you're making a payment. Lease drivers just manually pay, and company... Abacus is calling me. I'm not going to take this call. I'll call them back tomorrow. Maybe I'll call him back a little bit later. I don't know what time it is. 5:14. Yeah, I don't know about that. Ben Birch, I'm out here in Sanford, North Carolina. I wanted to park up at the receiver for a 0400 appointment, but they didn't have anywhere for me to park, so I had to come 9 miles away at this Circle K. And even though it's 9 miles away, it takes like 45 minutes to get there with every fucking stoplight in the world. Like, this town literally has like 400 people, and they got like 45 like traffic signals and lights and stop signs and everything. Like, it took me almost 20 minutes to get here from 9.5 miles away. So maybe at 3 in the morning or whatever, it may not be that bad, but I just wanted to wake up, walk into shipping and receiving and do that. But now I got to get up extra early and do all this other shit. So, and then I got to go to another delivery, and I don't think these guys like really, who comes up with these delivery times? And I will be lighting people up in a message tomorrow if for some reason I'm late to that, because whoever sets these appointments is fucking delusional. It's like, okay, you have a 0400 appointment and you have a 0730 appointment at the 90, and the 90, or the final receiver is like 75 miles away. Like, I always go in and talk to my fleet manager when I'm in there, except for maybe recently, just because I've just been there in and out. But next time I go up there and have some time, I may go in and talk to these salespeople and just like see what their fucking rationale is about some of the stuff they're doing. Yeah, 412, man. Sometimes owner-operators got to go through some shit, man. But the one thing I can say about you, with all the shit that you're going through and the breakdown and all that stuff, is you aren't blaming anybody. That I got respect for, and all that. Even if it's painful, but there's too many people out here that are placing blame on shit. Can you take home at least $2,000 on a lease? When I was on a regular lease, I would say $2,000 would probably be on the lower end. Now $2,000, I mean, that's $2,000 isn't even, because you got to remember, at this point now, I don't have that 1,100. I think my payment was like 11 or 1163. I don't pay that at all. So now, really, depending on when my fuel kind of settles out on the paycheck, I mean, anything over $163 in fuel, for the most part, unless I get work done, it's free. Now, I just got tires and all this stuff done, and that was like $5,700. So I guess you could factor that in. Highway Honey, I haven't watched one of her videos in a long time. If Trucker Todd does last there, I guess we need to have a celebration, because my boy he's not afraid to change employment. Him or anybody that wants to be coaching out here. When I was a trainer at Prime in the tanker division, they treated leasing like AIDS, but this is before people learned how to manage their money at Prime. Yeah, I'm not sure when you were doing that. I've been fairly lucky at Prime, outside of the insanity I had when I was like, let me put my life in some other people's hands. Outside of that, I've always done well. And I know that my girl Donnell watches these videos, and I'm not pointing the finger at you. I'm just saying it is what it is. You know what? 412, I know what you're saying. And a lot of people don't look at it like that as far as decisions they make being their fault and trucking and things like that. But here's how raw I take it. Even if it is my fault, at some point I have to take responsibility for everything just for making that decision. It's why I keep talking about my wife and shit like that. Like, I can't go to my wife and be like, this is the excuse. Like, I got to go there with solutions. I can't go there with problems. So even if I went to Prime and my truck broke down and, whatever the situation is, and it could be totally out of my control. I did everything I should be doing. I ran my clock right. I did everything I should have done. And for some reason I failed because things beyond my control. That's still on me because I'm the one that put my family in that situation. And I can't even fathom. And I've said this before when my wife's been on lives and she seconded it. I cannot go back to my wife with, even though she would allow it, because she's empathetic like that. But as a man, I cannot go back to my family with no excuses. Like, even when shit was like bad, it was like there's solutions. I can't go back with excuses. I got to come back with solutions. And too many people, there's a comfort in being able to blame shit on somebody else that you don't get when you accept 100% of the responsibility. And I accept responsibility for shit that's even societally beyond my control. You know what I mean? And a lot of that comes from my mom. Alright, so 412, basically I'm going to sum that up. Being with the carrier make things a lot easier, and that maybe that will work out well for him. Let me go through this. Shamarcus Dickinson. Now, see, here's another thing about us against them, company versus lease versus, owner-operators. I'll be the first one to tell you, because I had this thought when I was 9 months away from having my third truck paid off and keeping my second and first one and just running those and everything. And to me, there is no amount of money that I could make that would make having 3 paid off trucks worth it. But that's me. And and he's going to make all the money. He's going to be doing all that shit. And that proves that different strokes for different folks. And he's where a lot of people would want to be right now. 412's trailers in the shop. Alright. He's kind of getting screwed a little bit on that. I can't make Great Dane fix it any faster. That's one thing I can tell you. And trucks being down in the shop, that's one thing that company drivers don't have to pay for. When I had drivers that were in the shop and they were chilling at the hotel, that was hard to swallow. I'm gonna tell you, it was never my truck that went down, and that's not because it was them driving or anything like that. It just worked out to every time a truck was in the shop, I wasn't paying for me to be in the hotel chilling. I was paying for somebody else to be in the hotel chilling, and that is hard right there. And then there were times when they helped it out. I had one time where one of my drivers was empathetic and he teamed with me for a while his truck was in the shop, and then switched trucks with me, so lighten that load a little bit. But all right, my 031590 time at OK Walmart DC. I love that Walmart. If you're talking about the one that's I'm thinking about in DC, I have 10 minutes to get in the dock, dolly down, and take the bills in, but they're strict on that. When I go to Walmart, depending on what time it is, I'll try to slow walk my shit to that office as long as I can. just to maybe get some detention, or at least get me unloaded by the time truck stops are like opened up and shit. Man, Terry might be rolling here soon. I just talked to Terry the other day. All right, let me skip through some of these. Coach said he spent $1,800 out of pocket at Prime just in hotel. Are you talking? Oh, first of all, I can't make it through his videos. There's only a certain amount of whining that I can fucking deal with. But I'm hearing that he wasn't even at Prime. He was like at Wilson or BLC or something. But regardless, if you're gonna go into a lease, I'm just telling you right now, new people, stack up your money first. Even if he had, see, that's what I'm saying. I take accountability. I'm not out here trying to be and I'm not calling him a bitch. I'm just saying if I did the same thing, I'd be a bitch. I'm not out here trying to say, you know what, my truck broke down and, you know, now I got to have them put money on my ComData card and I got to, like, you know, do all this other shit. And no. That I should have already had that shit set up before I got into it. Now, I can give an excuse because I do think that Prime and other trucking companies don't stress the downfalls as much as they should when it comes into getting into leasing. But if you've been in the business for 20 years, like literally, I'm not even going to talk about me. You have a trucker, so let's just say Romaine the trucker. He's been in trucking, 2 years? And he's probably been more successful than somebody who's been in the business over 20 years. Like, he's dumb. Like, that's embarrassing. I could not be, there is no way I could be on YouTube acting like a fucking victim with my family watching and everybody else. Like, what am I gonna look like rolling into a truck stop and they're like, yeah, here's this bitch that can't pay for his hotel and he's whining because, you know, what the costs are and shit. Like, I can't do it. And if he wanted to go dollar for dollar on, like, when he was talking about him, and I hate talking about this shit, but I'm gonna say it just because I think he's putting out like some crazy shit. When I was solo and him and Cooper, or whatever his name is, and they were talking about their paychecks, there is no fucking way that, like, I was killing both of them. Like, there were checks and this was, all right, my truck was paid off at the time, but still, we're only talking about $1,000 difference. Even if you added the truck payment in, I was killing them solo. And they were like, I don't, did they make more than $2,200 each as a team during that whole time at Hirschbach the first time? $2,200 is like the minimum I'd want to wake up for, even with the truck payment at that time. Now, I don't know what it is now, but at that time, $2,200, that's not even like getting out of bed. And they were excited about that. And I was like, you know, whatever, but that's fine. That's them. That made them happy, all that kind of stuff. But then they quit because there wasn't a guarantee or whatever the situation was. And it's like, if you're fucking out, all right, never mind. They quit because there wasn't no guarantee. I don't get it. I just don't get it. So whatever reason he left Prime for, he's probably better off wherever else he is. And hopefully that works out for him, because literally there's only so much whining I can listen to on YouTube coming at me from different directions. And if he can make it work at Hirschbach, more power to him. All right. Don't make... All right, they're talking to each other here. Hey, Lyle, I was talking about Terry, me, and Ben Bro, coach is so cringy that as soon as you call him out on one comment, he blocks you. I just couldn't follow. Like, new people, if you happen to be watching this, because I know every now and then somebody says they're new, follow people that you want to emulate. If you want to get 45 different jobs in 23 months, I'm not the one to follow you. And there's a lot of other YouTube channels out there not to follow. There's a couple that I know that would fit right in your wheelhouse. Follow those guys. If you need their names, I'll just send me a message and I'll send you those channels. But it's... Anyway, that's what they told us in the Corps. Uh-oh, got another Marine out here. That's what they told us in the Corps. There's a difference between an excuse and a reason. Exactly. And a reason is what 412 we spoke about on the phone with. There's a reason why you can fail, but that doesn't mean, like, listen, you could fail at whatever. I could look at it technically and say, you know what, I failed having multiple trucks, but there is no fucking excuse I'm going to come up with that every fucking move I made was on my own. And everything that I do is on my own. There's never going to be a time that I'm going to be out here, it happened because fuel was too high, or it happened because flip-flop wears, it happened because, you know, brokers, it happened. Man, you could think of as many excuses as you want. The bottom is, what's that? Who's the president that said the buck stops here? We need Terry up. We need my man, Terry up in here, but the buck stops here. There's no fucking excuses on that shit. Like, let me look this shit up. What is it, Truman or something? Yeah, Harry Truman. The buck stops here. Now, listen, my wife is not the type to be like asking no questions or trying to, like, you know, she's not gonna be the type to be like, why is this or why is that, you know, whatever. But as a man, I can't be going back to the house with no excuses. I'm just going to sum this up. So, Coach and Todd have been driving for a long time. They come up with a bunch of excuses. I can't do it. Even as a brand new driver, even if I just got off the fucking bus, which is another thing I'd never do. And that's not saying that it's wrong. There's certain levels where I try to put, certain minimums I try to put myself on. But I couldn't have got off the bus or whatever at training and been like, kicked out for whatever reason, then go home and blame it on some shit. I just can't. I can't. Every decision I make, whatever the reason is for it, it comes down to me. And there's a lot of excuses being made out there. And to me, it's embarrassing. Because, you know, there's a bunch of different excuses. And I'm not going to get all into a lot of this shit. But people that I know from way, way back, 30s, 40s, 50s, all that kind of shit. They had legitimate excuses on why they couldn't have done what they could have done, and there was legitimate reasons why they may not have been everything that they could have been, but they never made excuses for it, and they always made the shit work out. I can't, after having that be the case, come back in and be like, foreigners. Like, that in itself is embarrassing enough. If a fucking Mexican or Arab or whatever is out here outrunning your ass and he can't speak English, that's a problem. Now, it could be a reason why the shit is what it is, but there's somebody out there making it through it. You can too. Oh man, I gotta get off this. All right, 412 there, splitting $2,200. Teaming. listen, I went and teamed with my old trainer because he was coming back and he had to do all that, and I made a lot of money during that. I would have done $2,200 a week for him just because it was him. But $2,200 a week as a team, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Like, minimum to team, it's got to be at minimum $3,300 minimum, and that's teaming. As a trainer, no less than like $4,000. And I never really made average less than $4,000. Now, I didn't do it for the money, but to say, is it worth it? Oh, yeah. Referrals, too. That's another thing. How are you out here referring people to places you ain't even driven for, first of all? Now, first of all, I don't run out and search for referrals and mention it or anything like that. And I don't have a problem if I did, but why? Because it's a product I believe in. Prime, with all its faults. If you took the average driver that's going to come into the trucking industry and say, in 6 years, here's where you could be, I think I'd be a great person to follow. I'd be like, if you said, okay, here's your path. Do you think that you'd be more successful following this path or some other false prophet's path? I don't think I would feel bad telling somebody that. And I don't think Kiersey would be wrong for doing it. I don't think that, like, a ton of Shamarcus would be wrong with it. I don't think that even Romaine the trucker, even if he's not at Prime, because it doesn't necessarily need to stay within a certain company. Like, follow the characteristics of who you want to be or where you want to be. But if I'm going to follow somebody that's got more, like, literally some of these guys that are out here trying to teach people what to do in trucking have more jobs than I've had in my entire life within the last 5 years. Rusty, what's up? Just got off the phone with Rusty earlier today. He's out there doing that dry fast. Now that right there, boy, if you're not eating or drinking, as a matter of fact, cheers to Rusty. If you're not eating or drinking for 3 days, that's a bit much. I could see maybe the not eating. Alright, but he can... Alright, so it must be talking about trucker coach comparing Hirschbach to Prime, and I mean their lease purchase is literally 100 degrees different. Now, here's one thing I will debate. If anybody can hear a debate with me about Prime's lease purchase on a brand new truck compared to Hirschbach's lease, I'll take the Pepsi challenge on that shit every day of the week. It's not even a debate on that. Now, there's a debate on how many different ways you could be successful, or there's a debate on all this other kind of stuff. Math is math. I don't care how you break that shit down. And one thing I would almost bet, what's the date today? September 15th, 2025. If there's a paid off truck by September 15th, 2028, I will be extremely amazed. But at Prime, there's a ton of people paying off a ton of trucks in 3 years or 4 years if you happen to, in my opinion, which isn't the right opinion, make the wrong choice. But there's a ton of people getting paid off trucks at Prime. And you know, I do know people at Hirschbach. I know another guy at Hirschbach. He has 2 paid off trucks. So it's not like it's impossible. It's just not as good of a program from a dollar, from a numeric standpoint. Simper, Tyrannus, what's up? Slime Pack is free now. I got my freedom papers. All right. What's up, Mr. Green? What's up, No Hippie? That Todd guy changes trucking companies every 3 months. Rusty took a fucking bus to Prime. Man, there is no way I was going to be on no Greyhound bus. I'm just telling you. Yeah, that one wasn't gonna. The last time I took a Greyhound, I was in the Marines and we went up to Hollywood to go party, and we took the Amtrak from Oceanside, California to someplace. Then we had to take a bus in for the remainder of the time, and that was when I realized that I don't need to be on a Greyhound bus. Aren't those dudes fruity? I don't know if they're fruity or not. $2,200 a week, and I'm not teaming today. Now my privacy is worth more than that. I'm sure Truck or Rusty's making more than $2,200 a week. I hope that's what you're saying. Mr. Mega Fred Zeppelin, what's up, man? You keep reminding me of them barbecue days. I miss that shit. I miss all of you guys from over there. Shit. Oh, those were some good old times. I'm just telling you. JGR, I know you remember we went on talking about the Metro a while back. The Metro was one of the best clubs ever. Riverside, California, 3 dance floors. Man, I went there like religiously from like 88 between deployments and shit like that, 88 to probably 91. I think that was like one of the best places ever. And we used to go party there. We'd go party and go up to Metro, and just to paint the picture, those you guys old enough, Cisco, which is better. Cisco was, I think it was more potent. It was like Mad Dog 2020, but more potent. So actually, let me paint another picture. The first time I drank Cisco, we go up there. There's this guy we're going up with. He's 21. It's me, my boy. This is a truck driver. We started in 94. We all 3 go up there, and this guy's like, let's stop the liquor store. So he gets these. We weren't old enough at the time, but he gets these Ciscos. So I'm thinking they're wine coolers. I've been drinking California coolers and Barrels and James and all that stuff. So he gets like 3. I think he gets like 9 of them. And I drink my 3 real quick because I got to show off. And my boy drinks his 3, and then my other guy's like, man, this is gonna be enough for me. So I like, man, give me that shit. So we had hurry and drink it. Man, I mean, in terms of what I drink now, volume wise, it's not the same volume. But back then, if you're thinking you're drinking a cooler and you get a Cisco. So anyway, beside the point. I don't know what my point was. That was some fun up there. Anyway, JJR, you could still find Facebook pages about the Metro out there right now. One of the best clubs ever. Riverside, California. Man, yeah. 412, yeah, man, false prophets. And like I said, 412, those that can't do, teach. And those that can't teach, coach trucking. All right, anybody heard from Jim C? Man, that's a shame right there. Jim C, he was my man. I think he's a little bit of an introvert. And when this little bullshit went down, when people were kind of picking on everybody, I just think he was like, man, is this worth it? Fred Zeppelin. I joke when I make deliveries in a Ford F650 flatbed. I tell my co-workers, I'm truck driver, rock on. That might be one of the things I do when I get this last truck before I retire, is just use that to pull like a motorhome or something like that. Depends on where I'm at the time, but I might do something like that. I've seen some people out there pulling, and they're not like doing it for work. They're like doing it with a little car on the back and the whole deal. But trucking takes a lot out of you. I'm just telling you, new people or people not in trucking, it takes a lot out of you. I'm just telling you. But there's not the same level of stress. So it's good from that standpoint. All right, 412, get some sleep, man. I'm about to get some sleep myself. I got to get up a lot earlier than I wanted to. I did not want to be parking 20 minutes away from my delivery tomorrow because I really just wanted to wake up and be like, I'm here. There's another guy on YouTube that hasn't posted in a while. I didn't know where he was at, but if you're coming to Prime or you want information on Prime, there's a guy called Work in Progress. And he's been at Prime probably 5 years. He hadn't posted in a long ass time, but he's still at Prime. He's out there doing videos, so check him out if you're bored or you're looking for somebody new to check out. Work in Progress. And he's been leasing at Prime for a long time. This is not the best truck stop to be at. I've met a Circle K with like 5 spots. And luckily I'll be leaving in the morning because if you wanted to get out of here anytime during the day, it was going to be a fight to get out of here. Just because if anybody needs to fuel up, they're going to be blocking you, just waiting for a pump. So you could potentially be sitting here and them pumps are either slow or people are hanging out or whatever, but you could literally be sitting here for 30 minutes. And then the driver in front of you can't back up because there might be somebody behind him. So, all right, Slowpoke, my student likes to tell me he's going to make it work driving daytime hours only. There's no fucking way. And yeah, you might want to tell him he can make it work. Yeah, you just spell it work in progress. He looks like, you know what he looks like? He looks like Special Ed. I'm your idol. Or I'm your whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Special Ed from back in the day. Got the little Jerry curl looking shit. Not a real Jerry curl, but kind of like Billy Ocean Jerry curl. Like Special Ed. Yeah, driving daytime hours. I knew a guy, or I didn't know him. I ran into him when I first got into trucking. We were picking up in somewhere in Indiana. And I don't remember how the conversation came about, but he was like, yeah, my fleet manager, and this was back when loads were plentiful. This was like my first truck. And he's like, yeah, they tried to send me a load, and I just told them, I'm not driving day shift or night shift. And I get on my man Rusty because he's a solar powered trucker, but depending on the time of the year, I'd like to drive days, but I drive as the load dictates. And I think a lot of time when people get into this pattern, whether it's there's 2 patterns I don't get. I'm only going to drive 8 hours a day because I don't want to burn out my clock. That's one. And then I only drive daytime. Because at some point, that's not going to match. Like, I'm going to drive however it takes for me to get to that, let's just say, delivery early as possible. And it could be the pickup or whatever, but easily the delivery earlier than possible. So that means most of the time I'll be delivering with the full clock. If you have people that are like, I'm only going to drive 8.5 hours a day, so I never run out of clocks, I keep running. Well, you're going to have to keep fucking running because you ain't made no money the whole fucking time. So you have people that are like, okay, I'm going to drive 8.5 hours, and that's going to keep my hours running. A lot of times you see those people driving in from talking to them and reforming, some of them, driving in 3 hours to a receiver or, whatever. If I drive more than 60 miles to a receiver, that's a long drive. Most of the time I'm within 15 miles or, whatever. So I'm not driving in that long. So then when I get that next load, I basically have a full clock. And I'm not doing the same thing happens when you're like, I'm going to just drive days or nights or whatever. Like, I'm getting as far as I can get. That's it right there. And I'm leaving nothing on the clock. Like, I'm driving until the furthest truck stop that I could reasonably stop at, or my hours are running out or whatever. That's it. Until I get where I'm going. Alright, because he's got to get his gym time in and the podcast he listens to. Hey, I'm not saying there's a right way to do things or a wrong way to do things. That might work for him, but financially I don't think it's going to work as good as... And maybe money is not... All that other stuff might be more important than money. To me, time off is worth more than money. So as long as he's accomplishing what he wants to accomplish, that's fine. But he can't be saying, I want to drive in the daytime only and I want to make all the money. You got to be flexible. Even my man Rusty is a solar powered trucker and he drives nights when he has to. It's going to be interesting because to say you're only going to drive daytime, you realize, I guess if you're on a good relationship with your fleet manager, that will work. Or, not that will work, but that will make him maybe give you loads that revolve around that. But do you realize how many loads you're going to have to turn down to fit in that, schedule? And what, are you going to get out to your delivery with... a lot of times you're not going to get a load till, I don't know. I don't see how that works. Midlife Trucker is basically saying Trucker Coach was on the A fleet. Exactly. Why is he hating on Prime? Because that would be like me shooting somebody and having a bunch of people getting mad at some girl because I shot somebody. I drive as the load dictates. Day, night, whatever. I prefer driving. It's more comfortable. Well, it's hard to say. Everything has its benefits. You save time on your clock driving nights. It's more comfortable. It's easier to drive during the daytime as far as if you're near busy cities, stuff like that. But during the daytime, you got to deal with a lot of headaches. Deer at night, I don't know. My man that I was teaming with for a while, man, we were out near Olathe, Kansas, and he almost hit a deer. I was about to give him $1,000 bonus. He didn't do that. Just hit the deer. We have insurance. Don't worry about it, man. I am so glad he missed that shit. I was almost about to pay him a bonus on that one. But and it was like it was in slow motion. It was like, do you want me to hit the deer? It's like, fuck no. And boom, missed it. But anyway, Tom, a lot of time it has to do with the time of the year. In winter, if it's in a snowy area, I'd rather be out during the day. If it's not in a snowy area, I'd rather drive at night. But then in the summer, there's advantages both ways. So I guess it is pick your poison. There's no right way to do this shit. Just get it there on time. And assume 100% of the responsibility for whatever you do. Hey, as far as the suicidal drivers, I've kind of, my patience is thin. I may not be the first one to be like, for automobiles, if you're coming down that ramp and you can go faster than me and I'm sitting back here in this lane and you know I'm coming, you might have to be the one to make up the choice. And if not, you might have to, you're going to have to make a business decision at some point. I'm in a 10-hour turn and burn. I want my clock gone in 6 days. Yeah. And that's the difference between people that run like you and at prime. Sometimes you're better off at prime to run with lower hours, because a lot of times lower hours on your 70 means better money per dollar on your load, because you don't have time for any long loads. So if you're stuck with like 17 hours, 12 hours on your 70, getting recaps every night, they can't send you thousands of miles. They may only want to send you 400 miles, 350 miles. And those loads might be the loads that are paying $4 a mile, $4.50, $3, $2.75, whatever. While some of those longer loads that you got time for may only be paying that $2 a mile, $1.78, some shit like that. So I love a recap more than what am I going to do for 34 hours out here? I'm not going to take it at home, because I never get a recap at home. What am I going to sit up at TA? I mean, I've done it accidentally. And I'm not wanting to get up this damn early in the morning. Anyway, I'm about to get off here. Just wanted to stop by and say, what's up? Since I was having a hard time to go to sleep, maybe it'll be easier for me to do it now. But, I do appreciate you guys stopping by No Hippie Trucking Transportation. And do what's best for you. Don't worry about what everybody else says is better. Company, lease, owner, operator, whatever. There's more than one way to skin a cat. And there's more than one way to be successful. Find your own success. And I'm out.